those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. I am by no means a fan of Britney Spears' music. However, it was her music-loving fans who gave her the confidence to speak up for herself.
It's Britney, bitch.
We caught up with Jamie-Lynn recently in Louisiana to find out what it's like to be Britney's kid sister. This is what she said.
The special relationship that me and my sister share is that anything that's wrong, I can tell her and she'll help me. She is the nicest country girl you'll ever meet. She would do anything for me, and we share such a special relationship. The best thing about being Britney's sister is you get to travel across the world and you get to meet people. I love singing and performing because I guess it runs in the family. I would like to be like Britney, but maybe better, but I don't want to outshine her. People tell me that I have a more mature voice than normal 10-year-olds. My advice to Britney is just scoot over because I'm coming through and I'm going to be the star pretty soon.
She was everybody's princess.
Me and my sister just have a really special relationship. There's a big age difference there, so she's been very motherly to me.
Britney would dress her up before we go to school. Britney was the more feminine one. She liked the dolls. She liked makeup. Jamie-Lynn was always a little bit more rough and tumble. She liked the country music. She liked the fishing. She liked getting dirty. She liked playing with the animals. Jamie-Lynn was more or less the daddy's girl.
When Jamie-Lynn was young, Jamie-Lynn was horrible.
Wow, her dad really said that?
She had to be the center of attention. Britney was like her second mother. She agitated everybody to death. She was loud, and she was bad.
She's always singing.
Jamie-Lynn preaches to both of us.
She's the wise one.
Yeah,
Yet she's the
like, y'all
youngest
shouldn't
one.
be doing this. Don't be doing this.
I was about 7 years old whenever Britney became famous. We went from, my mom would invite people in to come have lunch because they were driving by Britney Spears' house, to us ending up having to move from that house because it became unsafe. It was a big change, and being that exposed, I guess, with Britney being so famous, was the first time it registered to me like, oh, whoa, this isn't just about singing songs, you know, our life has changed.
Jamie-Lynn was on the road a whole lot with Britney and I, and she was only like 8 to 10 years old. And after all the shows that Britney would do, Jamie-Lynn would always be ready in the bus with a friend. I would always have a friend with her. They would work on a little skit, song and dance. So when Britney got on the bus, they had something to do for her.
Nickelodeon saw some of that footage of me being silly, making up characters, and wanted me to come in and audition for one of their shows.
All the videos that Jamie-Lynn had been doing on that bus, Nickelodeon put it into that first show, all that.
Britney left when she was 15. Jamie-Lynn actually started when she was 10 years old with All That.
After All That, I went on to another show for Nickelodeon called Zoe 101, and I finished that when I was 15.
Pop star Britney Spears' teen sister is pregnant.
Jamie-Lynn is having a baby.
Nickelodeon must be furious.
I mean, what was she thinking?
At 16, I was pregnant, and I was going to become a mother. The child star who got pregnant. Awful.
I'm telling you right now, her life is over.
I mean, a lot of horrible, nasty things were said.
Her career is done.
Reckless.
How careless.
No one will know her in 6 months.
I'm not just a child star.
It's going to be a good one. I can feel it.
And I'm not just someone's sister. My sister and all the great things that she's accomplished. For me, I don't look at it as a shadow. I look at it as more of a light of what is possible. If you work hard enough and you believe in yourself hard enough, anything can happen. I mean, she was from this small town, and look where she is now.
But you didn't quite make it there, did you, girl?
Hey, everybody. I just want to take a second to address a few things. The only reason I haven't before is because I felt like until my sister was able to speak for herself and say what she felt she needed to say publicly, that it wasn't my place and it wasn't the right thing to do. But now that she's very clearly spoken and said what she needed to say, I feel like I can follow her lead and say what I feel I need to say. I think it's extremely clear that since the day I was born, I've only loved, adored, and supported my sister. I mean, this is my freaking big sister before any of this bullshit. I don't care if she wants to run away to a rainforest and have a zillion babies in the middle of nowhere, or if she wants to come back and dominate the world the way she has so many times before.
Dominate the world? I'm detecting just a little bit of jealousy here.
Because I have nothing to gain or lose either way. This situation does not affect me either way because I am only her sister who is only concerned about her happiness.
Yes, of course. Nothing at all to gain whatsoever.
I've made a very conscious choice in my life to only participate in her life as her sister, as an aunt to those boys. Maybe I didn't support her the way the public would like me to, with a hashtag on a public platform, but I can assure you that I've supported my sister long before there was a hashtag, and I'll support her long after. Note that.
Noted. That's not what you're saying now, though, is it?
I mean, I've worked since I was 9 years old. I've paid my own freaking bills since I was 10 years old.
You made your money how? Oh, that's right, by starring in Britney's film Crossroads.
Not that I owe the public anything, because my sister knows I love and support her. That's the only person I owe anything to. I'm not my family. I am my own person. I'm speaking for myself. I'm so proud of her for using her voice. I'm so proud of her for requesting new counsel like I told her to do many years ago. Oh, not on a big public platform, but just in a personal conversation between two sisters. So I'm very proud that she's taken that step. If ending the conservatorship, if flying to Mars, or whatever the hell else she wants to do to be happy, I support that 100%, because I support my sister. I love my sister, always have, always will, as long as she's happy. So let's keep praying. That's all.
Come on my show, and you have been getting annihilated on the internet recently. What are the comments you get that are the most hurtful?
That I didn't do anything to try to help my sister. I very much did many things. People who say that I didn't support, I have tried and true examples of how I supported.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
In all fairness, we do have to hear her out. It doesn't excuse the timing with which she released her book, but we should at least hear her out.
February 1st, 2008, your father files for conservatorship over your sister. Meanwhile, in your life, you are a teenager, 4 months away from giving birth. How did you find out that your sister would be put into a conservatorship?
I guess just kind of like everybody else, I didn't really know what a conservatorship was or anything. So I didn't know what, I just knew that okay, the family's gonna help my sister do something. I don't know. I just knew that
she was only just 16, so understanding what the conservatorship actually is was probably a big ask.
That's all. I knew what y'all knew.
Yeah.
I did. After what I'd went through with my family the few months before, I just wasn't really having them in my life at that point in time.
Again, to give context, you had just gone through all of this with your parents basically asking you to abort the baby. You say no. You're away in the cabin. Now you're going to have...
I do want to clarify.
Okay.
No one asked me to abort the baby.
Okay.
It was heavily not advocated that I have the baby. And it was almost like all of these things that happened to me afterwards were ways of hopefully bending my will. If we make it horrible enough, maybe she'll change her mind or something.
And so you stopped talking to your dad because he was like, "Okay, fuck you, you're having it and you're not going to do it my way."
Yeah.
Bye. So he's dealing with Britney. Your mom
Yeah.
was mostly with you. Then you go to file for the emancipation. Then you don't, but now you've got some of your money. You're trying to figure out your life.
Yeah.
And all this is happening, and your father files for conservative over your sister.
Mm-hmm.
And so no one really explains it to you.
I don't think I was their favorite person. I don't think they were to call me up and give me a heads up either. I just literally blew up their world again by having a baby. So it's
Right.
I don't think they were wanting to include me.
based on everything you wrote in this book, your father struggled to parent.
Mm-hmm.
What qualified him to be a fit conservator?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the freaking state of California.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't make that choice. This was a freaking court system who did. But I will say that I think that, you know, I do think that, like, obviously someone found a need for something, but I was like, who am I to say? I mean, that's obviously a legal thing that had to go through a lot of approval.
Fair point. She was only 16.
You write in the book, on June 23rd, 2021, my sister broke her silence in regard to the oppressive nature of her 2008 conservatorship. You describe the conservatorship as oppressive. When did you come to realize that this setup was infringing on Britney's rights?
You have to understand, since I was 17, she's been in the conservatorship for 13 years. I've never known anything different as an adult.
Yeah.
So, like, what do I know what's normal and what's not? Like, this seemed to be the way things were.
Again, fair point. Nobody expects a teenager about to have a baby to wrap their heads around the conservatorship or even try to battle against all of the legal processes involved.
So for me, she told me she was wanting to, she didn't like the way certain things were happening, so I gave her the number of judges. I talked to her lawyer on the phone, which blew up in my face, and everybody turned against me.
Why?
Because I guess maybe that lawyer wasn't going to get a paycheck if he didn't have a job, so why did he need me fucking infringing on his rights, right?
So when you say that your sister, like, finally was just like, I don't like this setup, like, when exactly?
I think it was like, for me, she just kind of felt like maybe she didn't want anything to do with any of this shit anymore, you know? And if that's the case, then, like, that's the case.
Totally.
Like, whether I agree with it or not, like, that's her decision. Like, one particular time we were in Hawaii, we went on this trip together, and we obviously are, like, with our kids there, and we're every night just staying up talking or whatever, and, like, that was really when one of the times I can remember hunkering down with her, and, like, she was expressing things to me, which obviously are her things to express, but into my point of view, it felt like she deserved to have the right to talk to somebody. So I did. I spoke with her lawyer, and I told him a lot of shit, and it went nowhere. And then people got mad at me.
Do you know around when is this? Like, how far into the conservatorship?
Probably can look on, like I don't know. You probably look on Instagram or something. Whenever we went to Hawaii. That was one of the times.
Okay.
It looks like it was around the 2017 mark, just judging by Instagram posts.
Many other times, me and my husband, I do know some judges, and we did have some stuff looked into, and we told my sister many times all she had to do was go live out of state for 6 months, and the conservatorship will be absolved because she'll take residence in another state. I told her this many times. That was my understanding of it. Obviously, I felt like if she spoke with the judge and these different people a bit more, that she could make the decision she wanted to, because that's a very, and by the way, from my understanding, if she wanted to end it, then that was what I was going to support. So I kept telling her, all you got to do, come live with me in my shithole in Louisiana. Like, come on, let's, whatever. And I don't know why. I don't know why that option wasn't something that she wanted to follow through with. Well, and I get she does have children, so obviously, but
at least she does acknowledge that the children were part of the blackmail process.
For me, it was like, I put myself on the line a couple times with some people that, trying to help her in this situation that she said she needed help in, and pissed a lot of people off quite a few times. And so I don't know why wouldn't she clarify that? I don't know.
I feel like to the world right now, like, nobody knows you ever tried to help her.
Oh, no. And by the way, why was I going to go out and, like, say those kinds of things, like, and then maybe that blow up in my face? I kind of was thinking, like, when I talked to her lawyer, like, he would, like use this and helpful. This is like, he went and told me that I told them that.
So he went and told on you to, like, your dad and everyone that, like,
because the thing is, I think that maybe my dad was maybe the face. There's a lot of people behind there.
Yeah.
I think it was more of, like, the lawyers and whoever it was. And
I'm not sure exactly which lawyer she's talking about here. Britney did make several attempts to get outside lawyers to no avail. And we have since learned that her dad was monitoring all of her communications, including with her sister.
you know, I was basically like, it all got regurgitated to me, everything I said from the other side. And I was like, oh my God.
There's something towards the end of the book that to me summarized your parents and what they put you guys through. And you write, my siblings and I have been traumatized by the distorted vision my parents have of loyalty and success, the impact of exposure, and the flip side of fame. No one protected me from the backlash of my sister's struggles or prepared me for what our silence would cost all of us. Why do you think people ignore and refuse to acknowledge that you were raised by the same exact people as Britney Spears? That's your father. That's Britney's father. And for some reason, people aren't, or they're acting like you are.
Like, it's okay for that to be her experience, but like I could have the same exact one, but like I don't get any, nobody cares that was my situation too. But what I have to say is that, yeah, I mean, we all three have the same parents. That is one thing that we can all agree on.
Plus, she was also younger than Britney, so probably more scared to speak up than Britney was. And she admitted as much a few days later.
I'm afraid, like, number one, not only for my personal relationships, but legally, like, I'm talking about things that I didn't know, like, I don't know. I'm afraid of, like, I don't want to get in trouble. So I did speak to my lawyer, and, you know, they said, I'm reading messages I sent, so it's not like I'm making this up. So come for me, you know, like, whatever. Like, I checked it legally, but I'm nervous. Like, I'm still nervous. This sucks.
So yeah, Mummy Spears and Daddy Spears got both these girls scared out of their wits.
Why have you never said any of this to the critics that are like, wow, you were on the conservatorship, which we'll get to, but it's like, what, like, people that are like, you never tried to help her. You're literally sitting here being like, I was looking up things.
I kind of just thought that, like, I never thought that I'd get grouped into this hatefulness because I knew that I'd always tried to help and stuff. So then I was thinking in my head, like, this, I'm never going to have to speak up. I always did the right thing. Like, to me, it was like, why would I have to say anything? Like, she knows it. Like, we know it. Like, why would I have to say anything?
I think that what is bothersome for a lot of these critics, there was a period of time where you were involved in the conservatorship.
Wrong. Never involved in the conservatorship. Never, not once. There are legal documents that I can show you, or you know what, actually what the media could responsibly put out there, but they don't give an F about those.
No, let's talk this through though, because people assume that your name was tied into the conservatorship and so you're guilty. So can you explain why people think you were involved in this conservatorship?
And this is a question I've been asking as well, and you have to give her credit for coming up with the receipts.
Well, I think because outside of the conservatorship, even if it was you and your sister, my sister asked me to oversee a trust if something were to happen to her.
I don't think it occurred to Jamie-Lynn, but I think this is indicative that Britney was in fact afraid for her life.
So Britney asked you?
Yes. Now, when I was approached by her team of lawyers or whatever, and they were like, well, you have to get a lawyer and do that. I was like, so I did not even follow through with these steps to be a trustee over that will or anything. And that never even had anything to do with the conservatorship.
So legally, there was nothing ever filed?
Nothing. And I can, like, do I have my phone?
Really? This is helpful because on the internet right now, everyone thinks that whatever you're about to explain was involvement in the conservatorship and you had like a hold on some type of something.
And I would like to just read the actual like statement from her. This is her team filed these papers that say Jamie-Lynn Spears never took the very minimum steps to proceed with any of this.
So you were never involved in the conservatorship?
I never had one part in anything ever in Britney's conservatorship or her life at all revolving around the conservatorship. Jamie-Lynn Spears was never involved in any capacity in the conservatorship. Legally documented, factually documented by her own team.
Why do people think you were involved in it?
Well, when you're in a conservatorship, everything you do has to be reported to the court. It's like if she buys this or does that, it all has to be reported because the court has to be held accountable for, heaven forbid, the worst happens or something. They are legally the court put her in this. They have to be accountable for everything that goes on under it.
So what she's saying is Daddy Spears thought it was a great idea because he could tie her into the conservatorship and make sure that she was tied to what he was tied to, that is, informing the court.
During this time, one of the things that happened was my sister asked me if something were to happen to her, would I oversee a trust for her boys? So that means that, like, if something were to happen to my sister, would I make sure that, you know, this was allocated correctly to her boys? I never even became the trustee of this thing, and that is documented by her team. They filed papers.
Do you want to read something from it?
In the court approved First Amendment to the SJB Trust in 2018, the SJB Trust modified to have Jamie-Lynn Spears appointed as trustee. Petitioner is informed. This is her people's team. And believes that Jamie-Lynn Spears never undertook any of these steps to actually become trustee, which I didn't do the minimum task. I just didn't follow through with it. It just didn't feel like something I should do.
There was things on the internet saying that for a couple months and then, like, you were taken off of it. What is that?
Because they petitioned to put me on it.
Got it.
And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. But I didn't really know what I was like. And then when I saw that it was going to be like me approving of I was like, oh no. Like, I just said no. I said, I don't want to be a part of it.
So you were going to have to get like, really involved, and you were like,
I just said, no, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to. These things were filed with the court. Like, why wouldn't anybody report that?
Is there a reason you haven't posted it on your social media?
Because I think, like, out of context, people are going to be like, oh, what is this? But I think that, like, obviously now if people come for me, I'm just going to start posting all my text messages and all my stuff. And, like, I'm done taking pictures. Like, here's just receipts. That's it.
Playing devil's advocate, Britney didn't have access to her phone. Jamie-Lynn, you have a platform. People would have listened to you help your sister. Why did you not speak out on social media or to the public when you discovered the conservatorship was oppressive?
As far as I'm concerned, I would message her and I would talk to her, and we had full access to talk to her. I was in contact with her as well as when I put her in contact with the judges and the legal people who she
Why
spoke
does
to.
everyone on the internet think that she didn't have a phone?
I don't know, but I know, I mean, she had her phone. I mean, I know that because, like, I would, you know, I would
talk to her.
But there were certain times where I wouldn't understand why, but she would block me or whatever it was. And I felt like I didn't, like, I didn't understand sometimes, like, where or what my position was or how I could be helpful.
Bear in mind, at this time, Jamie-Lynn did not know that Daddy Spears was having security take her phone off her and monitor her phone and cut her off and doing all of these things in the background. This information didn't come out until much later in the piece.
But also, I was dealing with my own dynamics in our relationship. And I was getting to a place where mine and her relationship was becoming a bit more challenging and unhealthy for me, where at some point I had to protect myself too. And, like, outside of the conservatorship or anything, like, mine and her relationship was becoming to a point where I needed to also set boundaries and healthy boundaries with her. But as I've mentioned previously, anytime she told me she wanted help, I gave her the chances and the opportunities and the people to help her. She knows all of that. Why wouldn't she just have clarified that and stopped all of this? That's where I don't understand. But I do know that these are factually true statements and everything. Like, I have to at some point speak for myself, or what? Spend the rest of my life being bullied and there's absolutely no truth to some of these things. Like, I have to speak up for myself the same way I want everyone to speak up for themselves.
I think the issue is that you're not speaking up for Britney. I think if you spoke more in favour of Britney getting out of her conservatorship and less about yourself, you might be getting a lot less backlash.
Britney posted to social media vague allegations referencing a lack of support from her family and those who should have helped. Everyone assumed she was talking about you. Who did you understand her to be talking about in these posts?
Quite literally, I felt like a lot of them were directed at me at times too, and it made me feel like, why is she doing this to me? And I've messaged her about these things, and then she clarified with me that she was sorry she went on that ran on social media, and she texted me that she knew I had nothing to do with this and that, she was just taking it out or whatever. But it kind of has continued on, and that feels...
You see, you keep firing back at her. You could just try supporting her without firing back.
Like, I feel a bit helpless. Like, I don't know what else to do except for what I've always done, is to continue to love and support her, but also, like, respectfully speak up for myself, because I can sit here and allow you to make any choices you want, but do not attack me and my family and expect me to not sit there and say something.
Yeah. In the book, you provide a text message that basically clears your name, Jamie-Lynn.
Yeah, and I wish that she would share that.
Can you read the text? Can you pull out your phone and read the text?
I mean, why not? I mean, like, you know what? Everybody else gets to go on social media and say whatever the F way they want. I might as well just actually say something truthful.
See, firing back, she can't help herself. She just has to do it.
And you're saying that you have a text from your sister that's clearing
And,
your
like,
name.
what breaks my heart is, like, we were talking about the kids and stuff, and, like, I thought things were cool. And then all of a sudden, like, the next day I wake up to a fucking hate message on social media, and I'm just like, what's going on? I don't get it. Do you understand how traumatizing that is for me? The up and down of, like, I think we're cool and we're talking about my kids, and the next day I get, like, all these threats on social media because you backhandingly said something or made sweeping allegations with the word "the family." Like, I don't know what family you're talking about.
It's not really Britney's fault that the fans want to read more into her words than she's actually saying. Again, don't fire back, just support her.
But I shouldn't be included in that, and you should clarify that, because it's heartbreaking to me to be up and down all the time. And, like, I don't know, I want to support you, but I can also not put mine and my children's lives into the chaos because of one day you're okay with me and the next day you're not. That's in any relationship. There's so many, but I mean, honest to God, like, I felt, I was so hurt, it was horrible. They did me another Lord press. I'm trying to, now I look like a bitch, and I was hurt. I think the most one that she says to me, I know it's not your fault, and I'm sorry for being so angry at you. Although I'm your big sister, I need you more than you need me, and always have. Which I feel like I've always needed her, but I don't understand how this could be said 1 minute and then the next minute I'm, like, kind of being attacked on social media, but, I just don't understand why even say this to me.
Seems like she's saying she's not actually blaming you or including you as the family.
And when those moments happen on social, like, do you text her and be like, hey, Britt, I'm getting some crazy DMs. Like, can you clarify that that's not about me?
Do I really respond to what her response was to that? My sister, when I told her about me getting all the threats, she said that she never talks about my kids, so what the fuck am I talking about? But I mean, literally, I don't think she cares. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know how to, I mean, that's her message. Like, I told her, I mean, like,
I'm not entirely sure what Jamie said about her kids, but clearly that's a sore point for Britney, and when we deep dive into that subject, you'll understand why.
So you're sharing, though, with her that how much this is hurting you. And her responses are just like, well, I'm keeping your kids out of it. But she's also clarifying in text that she knows it's not your fault.
Yeah, and it's, the thing is like, just as confused as everyone else is, I'm just as confused or more confused because...
Okay, we don't need to keep going into this perpetual dynamic where Jamie feels attacked and Britney's not really attacking her, but the fans are actually attacking her. That's just their current dynamic, and Jamie-Lynn seems to like it. And it doesn't really contribute to the overall picture of what's going on behind the scenes. I think we can accept that she didn't have anything to do with the conservatorship and was actually trying to help her.
What is your hope for your family moving forward?
I love my whole family, especially my sister, and I support her no matter what. But I just can't deal in lies. Like, there just has to be some truth out there, and I'm allowed to share it.
Lordy, lordy, lordy. I don't think she was saying that Britney is lying. I think what she was saying is that the Free Britney movement is lying, and that's what keeps this perpetual motion happening. Anyway, there is some important information that Jamie does offer in a follow-up interview.
As you know, we met for the first time last Tuesday, and we went over a lot in our 2-part interview. But a lot has played out since then. You and your sister have been going back and forth on social media. Have you spoken to your sister since our interview last week?
I've tried to, but unfortunately, no. I did receive some Christmas gifts from her, so I reached out and said thank you for those, and that I hope she got mine.
Okay.
And what an odd time to get gifts, but yeah, that's just the facts.
Do you have proof that you told your sister this information about her lawyer?
Yes, I'm sure. Yes, I do. I've done it on numerous occasions, but during that time, I kind of sent her a message, and then I also thought maybe I was blocked from her, so I sent it to her boyfriend. Okay, I have this one because this one I know it's like double fact because I sent this to her and I sent it to her boyfriend, so it's like there's no way that I feel like this didn't go through, even though I didn't get a response.
Can you give us the date and the time that this was sent?
I can send you the screenshots too, but November 11th, 2020, 10:45 p.m. And then I resent it to her boyfriend the next morning. So just to double confirm, November 12th, 2020 at 9:47 a.m. This is really bizarre that I'm doing this. Britney, read important info that you should know because it seems concerning to me. Number 1, I actually put the number 1. Mom and her lawyers have been in constant contact with your lawyer about everything, and I first found it strange since you and Mom aren't speaking.
Alright, at this point we know she's talking about Sam Ingham, the court-appointed lawyer, and there's a whole story involving his so-called representation, but we'll get into that later.
I didn't understand why Mom would be involving herself or inserting her opinion into your lawyer, especially if you've not asked her to. Okay. I quickly realized Mom's focus has been on Dad and her personal attack on him, instead of on you and what you need. I think she has your lawyer fighting more for her agenda than yours, and it's only delayed your progress and cost you more money. If your lawyer tries to deny working with Mom's lawyers or his constant contact with Mom, then we can all get on the phone and I'll be sure he admits the truth because I have read the messages and heard the conversations. He also made so many mistakes the last court date, which is why you were denied once again. I don't know if he did such a bad job on purpose, but it's strange that a lawyer would leave so many open holes in his petition, which made it an easy denial. He is trying to create an ongoing fight with someone who isn't trying to fight, and it's clear that your lawyer loves the attention he's getting from your public legal battle, and he goes out of his way to keep his false narrative going so that he can continue to put on a show in the courtroom and get all of the press that he wants from your court dates, and he absolutely loves all the attention he gets from the Free Britney fans. He thinks it's his fan club now, which is so weird to me. Also, I will never forget that time that we were in Hawaii and I was trying to help you figure out the conservatorship situation, and you called your lawyer for his help, and he sat there and listened to us, but as soon as we hung up, he immediately called and said that I needed to be watched because I was trying to take down the conservatorship. He turned on you in a second, which is why I never trusted him.
I can verify that what she is saying here is absolutely 100% true, but Sam Ingham is for another episode.
2, Dad wants to resign and has for some time now. He would like to quit wasting time and money on all of the lying lawyers and be able to directly speak with you to assure that no one is speaking for you, and that will make his resignation process a lot faster because Dad has been aware of the relationship between Mom's lawyers, and your lawyer. So he wanted to speak to you himself to make sure everything being said and done by them was truly what you wanted. But your lawyer will not allow Dad to speak to you at all, which only drags out this legal process for you. And that clearly benefits your lawyer because he gets more money the longer this can keep going, which is why I believe your lawyer is supporting Mom and her lawyers, creating more reasons to stay in court over money and other issues that have nothing to do with Dad being removed as the conservator of your estate, which I assume is what you want the most. Pretty obvious, right?
I can also verify that what she's saying here is also true. I'm not sure about the Dad wanting to resign part, but the Mum interfering, absolutely. And again, Lynn Spears is for another episode, as is Daddy Spears.
Okay, number 3. I actually spoke to Dad, and he is more than willing to agree to drop all this extra legal crap, extra lawyers, extra court dates that they keep creating only for you to keep getting denied and letting you down each time. If you're willing to speak with him and start the actual legal process of getting what you want, then Dad is on board with that as well. Number 4, I have nothing to gain or lose in this situation, no matter what happens with the conservatorship, but I'm sick of seeing this whole thing just keep going in circles. So I figured I should see if I could help. I'm upset that it's led to me not speaking to Mom, but I think that it's the right thing to do for now, so that you know everything and aren't constantly being fed bullshit.
This is also true. In fact, what Daddy Spears told her about, quote, trying to help Britney, unquote, was all a load of bullshit as well. So yes, her and her sister are both being fed BS by their parents.
I have no reason to send you this other than I love you. I'm trying to be helpful. I'm here if you need anything. Love you. Ugh. And so that is what I sent to her and to her boyfriend. And yeah, that's it. And I just feel, I feel bad reading messages. But you know what? That's not anything anybody, I said those things and there's proof to it. So I can stand behind.
It's Britney, bitch.
I'm not sure I can give her brother as much credit.
Interesting day for the Spears family, right? What's happening? Tell me about it.
Well, down here, not much, but yeah, I hear there's a couple of hearings, I guess, going on right now. Not sure what, the details and all that's going to be, but, we all hope for the best.
What was it like growing up as Britney Spears' brother?
First of all, there was normal Britney, normal life, I guess you could say.
Is that pre-pop star, megastar, or just?
Yeah, that was kind of like my world, I guess when I was I'm the oldest, so up to number 3.
So what's the age differences? So I know.
There's 3.5 years between Britney and I, and then there's 14 years between Jamie-Lynn and I.
Right. So how old were you when Britney first broke out, and you were hearing her music on the radio, and you were like, dude, my sister.
I was a senior in college.
Right. And she was how old? Roughly?
I think she just turned 16, maybe.
Right.
She dropped the album. She dropped the album, I think, when she was 16. Yeah.
And how did you know? You're in college. You're a senior. How did you know something like mega had just happened to your own little sister? Did you hear something on the radio, or did dudes come up and be like, "Bro, is that your sister? I'm hearing."
Yeah, it was it was interesting because she'd been doing, Mickey Mouse Club and doing all kind of Broadway and stuff like that for so many years. But she never really took off, so she was obviously, had already signed with Jive and was working on an album, but we'd already been down that road several times. So I didn't really know if it was going to take off. And then actually one day I was going down Main Street and they were the local radio station was oh, check out this girl from Kentwood. Her song came on. And I was it was kind of shocking.
I'm not much one for body language, but did he just do a whole disgusted look regarding Britney's song coming on the radio?
When did you know? When was the first moment you know she was megastar? I mean, it's safe to say at one point she was probably the biggest star in the world, certainly. And when was that moment? And because being in the Mickey Mouse Club that's cool, and it's more than most people will ever do. But I mean, she was that's it. It was king of the planet in that world. When was that? When did you know that that's what had happened?
Well, we kept waiting for it to peak. It's the album dropped and the song dropped. It was top 100, then top 40, then top, then number 1, then number 1 for X amount of weeks. Then the album drops, number 1 album. We kept waiting for it to stop, but it just never really did for the first 6 or 7 years. It was just nonstop. And it was literally, it was kind of conquering a land or something. It's everything out there that was possible to get, she got.
Wow, he still looks disgusted.
Did anything happen, Brian, where and I don't know, maybe it didn't, but where you had a moment of stepping back, holy shit, how did we get here? And again, maybe someone came up to you and was like, man, your sister is, or because to you, she had to be like your baby sister. She was your baby sister before, she's your baby sister now. At what point did you step back, and what was it where you're like, yeah, she's my baby sister, but she's a freaking mega star?
I don't know. As I've gotten older, you sit back and you like reflect, and you're like, wow, you realize how far we actually have gone.
Pretty sure it was Britney that did all the work, mate.
But when I was younger, I don't know. Maybe like SNL, probably. Like SNL. Halle Berry's hosting. There she is performing, and it was pretty shocking.
What type of conversations did Big Brother, did you ever stop and say, hey, Britney, you loving this? You having fun? You want to slow down? What was your experience as all this was unwinding with your little sister?
I'm the kind of guy that sits back and like watches and observes. I don't, say a whole lot. I'm not the kind of guy that's gonna go like make a big fuss about something. I know how much she loves to sing and dance. So that was something that's all she knows how to do. So if she doesn't do that, she's not doing what she, was, born to do. I'd have to say after, I think I did 6 world tours with her before I retired. And about there was times throughout each one of them where everybody's, exhausted. I would have to say probably after the the circus one in 2009, I felt like, we need to take a step back now. So,
seeing some burnout, some changes, maybe instead of the young girl who loved to dance.
Things that used to be, It's usually it's not a pickup game of basketball on the street that's fun anymore. It's like it's a business. It's a production. It's a hassle.
So 1 year into the conservatorship, you saw that she was burnt out.
Yeah, everybody wants a piece of you, How old was she on those tours? I mean, I know it varied, but what was the range? Because that's a lot of pressure, and that's a lot of just being out of sorts and not being grounded and not being home and around your people.
I think she started her first big one in 99 or 2000. And
so how old would she have been then?
2000, I think she'd probably been, I was 22, like 18 maybe.
Wow.
It was right when Live Nation had just become, oh Lord, I'm going blank, but whoever they were before.
So she's 18 going around the world on private planes, people surrounding her who are not her family, anything you want, whatever you need, there's never any no answer is not an answer. That's an interesting thing from a young age.
Yeah. No was something that still probably this day is not ever really said, but
we now know that that's not entirely true, but that's for another episode.
Well, we had a good support team. She had a legal guardian that had been with her since she was 14. And she's from home, here in Mississippi, or Louisiana, Mississippi line. And she was kind of like Britney's, I guess, second mom. So we felt comfortable that no matter where she went, she had proper guidance, Obviously, you can't control everything.
That legal guardian was intentional, which they do in the business, whether it's acting or films or touring of young entertainment professionals, so that it's an adult making sure that she's getting educated, having her school, even on the road, not eating, Oreos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that was, anyone in her position would have had a legal guardian keeping an eye on her, right?
Yeah. But this girl was someone who grew up with us, she grown up she's been still with Britney, as Felicia. I think she's still her assistant to this day. So
again, not entirely true, because Felicia has since come out and told us that she was pushed out by the conservatorship.
Good friends with my mom, so we're all pretty close. Dad was working, and then I didn't move to New York till I was 22, 2000, and I went in the sports side with Live Nation for a couple of years before I switched and took over, the family business. So.
God. So talk, what was that like? I mean, how did you make that switch? And when you say kind of took over the family business, and I know you were working with Jamie-Lynn and Britney, what did you do? What was your role? And what was that like with your sisters and the family connection and you now working with them?
First of all, it's always difficult working with family. I don't care. If you got a wonderful relationship or a terrible relationship, it's difficult. But rewarding in some aspects. we didn't have anyone that was actually overseeing the actual financial business development next step kind of thing for Britt. We had managers, we had business managers, we had agents, everything, but no one was like looking what the left hand's doing and looking what the right hand.
Well, we covered those weaknesses in the family business in episode 1.
So yeah, there was no top cop, basically, like who's like looking out for her best interest. So we as a family, as we always do, vote and kind of like come up with a family decision, and they we all thought that would be a good idea for me to kind of oversee all of it. And obviously I'm not getting in the details of what the manager does or getting in the details of what booking agent does, but overseeing all aspects and making sure like money's being put away, new businesses being formed, brands are being formed, trying to make money while we sleep. So we're not so focused on having to tour, and that being like an athlete and having to perform like that. So I think it was 2003 I took over till 2009.
Oh, so you were managing everything when Britney was attacked by the media, and somehow paparazzi were getting her locations everywhere she went, and overseeing the inappropriate interview questions she was being asked. That was all you.
How many people in that circle that were even close that had access that you would have to oversee between managers, booking agents, regular agents? How many people were that had a handout that were involved some way on that team, the inner circle?
Well, looking at a situation as I would today in any kind of situation, if I feel like I don't have a really good handle on it, or I don't feel like I have the expertise to conquer it, I go and hire or find the person or company that can. So I went and hired Ernst & Young out of Nashville, brought them in and did an entire audit of every single detail of her business, from publishing to branding to whatever, merchandising, doll, because at the time I think we had a huge doll line, tour merch and all that.
Right. Everything to do with money and nothing to do with maintaining her well-being. Right?
And I had those guys give me a report. It showed me, and we all broke it down. And then I went back, assessed it, and then, wound up having to, make a lot of adjustments after that.
As I say, so how were you feeling when you got that report? Like, what was happening, man? Was like
I was not very well liked, put it that way, amongst the team.
Did you give a rat's ass? I mean, if they're stealing from your sister,
you know what? Looking back on it, I'm like, you know what? I did what was right. It is what it is.
What did you do? Did you clean house?
Yeah. Everyone but the manager.
Right. And just a bunch of people with their hands out that are like thinking of their own interests instead of a young girl who's out there 365 on the road. And
yeah, and the music business back then was completely different than how it is now. I mean, at the time we're moving 10, 15 million CDs, on an album. So I mean, volume was massive. It wasn't just downloads. It wasn't all digital.
So did you ever, I mean, you're saying she sold 12 to 15 million CDs just at once, in a short window. She's touring the world. She did 6 world tours that you were on. I mean, you ever stop and try to get a figure of how much money she grossed in those years?
My thing was new business development. That's what I kind of focused on, which was the branding and, creating the Elizabeth Arden fragrance line with her. Just that alone has done over $100 billion in sales.
Wait, 100 billion or 100 million?
100 billion.
With a B.
With a B.
The Elizabeth Arden fragrance has done 100 billion
in sales globally.
Wow. Okay, so do you think she brought in over $1 billion, a couple of billion over those years at gross, at least, whether she saw it or not? I mean, I'm trying to get a sense of like, that's an enormous amount of wealth that anyone had coming in.
I mean, if your brand is producing those kind of numbers globally, in a 10-year span, that's a lot of money. I mean,
so what'd you guys do with it all, man?
Well, there's the $1 billion question.
Hey, can I have some?
I wish I had some. So, no.
Easy come, easy go.
Yeah, imagine. I mean, look, it's a complicated life. Is all I can say.
Yes, complicated indeed. When you're using her money to sue her fans and even later on sue her, I can imagine it gets complicated.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, and it's a good segue into, there's obviously some things happening today in Los Angeles in a courtroom that have to do with the Spears family, with Britney in specific. But there's a movement called the Free Britney movement, and it's huge, and it's got hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions. Are you familiar with that? You've seen it?
I'm familiar with it. I mean, I'm not up to date. My social media is not like, I would say, the best in the world. I think I have like 4 followers. So like, I'm not lying. So
I'll follow you after this. So you go up 20. That way you'll go up 20% today by me following you.
But I am aware of it. And by the way, like, just to see that kind of like interest in like people and our fans and people, and, in society today, like to care that much about her and, everyone in this family. We truly appreciate it. It means a lot. So.
What is that? What is it about, though? I mean, I'm not even asking you it doesn't even have to be your opinion if you don't want, but if you're an average person and you say, what is she in jail? Is she, being held captive? Like, what does Free Britney mean from your understanding? What are all these people speaking about when they're trying to say Free Britney?
That I don't quite know, like what their meaning is, because as I said, I don't follow it that well. But I am aware that like they feel like, like it's, I don't know, maybe she's being confined or something, or held against her will in some capacity. But I can't really, I can't speak for them. So.
Have you ever seen anything that led you to be concerned that your sister was being held against her will?
Every day. No, I'm joking. I mean, like, when the women in this family are very, very strong-minded and have their own opinion, and they want to do what they want to do. And as much as I admire that as a guy and being like one of 2 guys in this entire family, it kind of sucks, man. I'm not gonna lie.
But that might not be entirely new or progressive. I mean, saying, the women, they're strong-minded, they want to do what they want to do, kind of constitutional.
As I said, body language is not my thing, but watch this guy squirm.
I mean, yeah, and they have a right to do that,
Right.
Like, but like I'm sitting here and I have my daughter, I have my sister, her 2 daughters, and it's like, you don't get a vote around here, It's like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, look, I think what you're speaking about is, one is a facetious sense. I'm not trying to speak for you. And the other is a more literal sense, because on the one hand, there's, a massive amount of people, a whole social media following on one hand saying Free Britney, which, suggests that there's certainly some significant amount of level of people who have a genuine concern that something in her life is not her free will. On the facetious side about not getting a vote in your own family, that's like, me saying I have 3 daughters, and even though my house has 4 bathrooms, I often have to go outside and pee in the alley when no one's looking, because they're all using them, and it's like, get out of here, daddy. So that's the facetious part. But when I say, have you seen things over the course of your life, your experience? It's your little sister, obviously. I would imagine that you care very much about her, that would lead you to believe that there's any merit to a Free Britney, or that she does not have the ability to go or say or do what she wants to do?
No, I think at this point, I mean, she's been in this thing for quite some time now. Obviously, there was a need for it in the beginning.
We know that's not true. She's expressed since day dot that she didn't want to be in this conservatorship.
That, as I assume everyone knows, the issues that were going on.
Yeah, well, we do now. I.e., you were too busy managing her money to actually control what was going on around her.
And now they've made some changes, and all we can do is kind of hope for the best.
So what are those issues? And again, no worries. I'm not asking, you don't have to get into opinion, but everyone might not be clear. I wasn't clear. The first time you and I spoke about a month or 2 ago, I was not aware. So there's a conservatorship around Britney and her wealth. What is a conservatorship? A conservatorship? I had to Google it when you told me. So
yeah, it's a very complex law. California does a great job
cue the advertisement for conservatorships over perfectly functional people.
Because it's held in the probate court, so it's not, and that, which is in itself is a wholly different type of like complex law that I can't even describe. Like, to be honest with you, where someone who's incapacitated or feel like they're a danger to themselves, the state comes in and they award basically a team of people to, oversee them and kind of run their lives to make them, put them on the right path.
So that's what happened. So
in a nutshell, yeah.
So there was a concern by individuals, including at a state level or an official outside the family level to a degree, that she either was a harm to herself, couldn't be trusted to manage her life, her well-being, her finances. So a conservatorship was put in place to where they have almost guidance or final say over certain things that she can and can't do. Is that fair enough? Or
they accurate? Have 100% say.
Oh, so it's the court that follows her around all day, every day, and reports back to the court what she's doing.
They
100% say.
Yeah.
And was this something that you as a family were in favor of?
Well, at the time, like, we were all kind of spread out. I think I was going back and forth to New York, so.
Bryan just said he went back to New York in 2009. Britney's conservatorship started in 2008. So he's about to feign, I don't know anything, when actually he does, because she'd been in it for at least a year before he stopped managing.
As you see things on the news, you're not there, so it becomes a little more scary, because you're like, what? So I'm calling mom, mom's calling me, like trying to figure out what's going on. So I kind of think we kind of got caught by surprise with it all, to be honest with you. But in the end, it's been a great thing for our family. To this point, and
oh, I'm sure it has. A great thing for everyone except Britney.
Just kind of keep hoping for the best.
Was it initiated by someone in the family, the request for it, or was it by outside
I don't really know, actually. I don't really know how that went down.
You know damn well how this went down. The court isn't just sitting there watching the news and going, oh my God, look at the state Britney's in, we need to intervene, without even talking to the family. No, that's not how it works.
Okay. How does Britney feel about it? How did she feel about it when it first happened? I mean, you must have spoken to her and said, hey, so here's the deal now. If you want to hop on a private plane and go somewhere, ain't going to happen. You need permission from this person. I mean, I was looking online and, if she wants to spend money, there's a specific allowance, a fairly small allowance. And when you consider the wealth that she's, so and maybe that is part of the Free Britney movement. At some point, maybe I'll be back and have someone from the Free Britney movement that could say why they're doing that, what their specifics are. But yeah, it's, so how did she react to that when you spoke to her about that lack of control over her own decisions?
In the beginning, I'm sure it was hard, I mean, imagine anytime you're going through like struggles or whatever, and having to make big adjustments, that is very difficult.
But then we got her medicated, and so medicated that she came around in the end.
What I think kind of got us all through it is like all of us have been pretty close all these years. I mean, normal fights, normal like, all right, I'm mad at you for a week or whatever kind of family stuff, but nothing ever major where we're like, everyone quit speaking or mom and I didn't speak for 6 months. We haven't ever had that. So I think we kind of came together. And not everybody agreed with it either. Everyone had their own opinion and like, oh, well, maybe we should do it this way or do it that way. But at the end, I think we made the right choice. How it proceeds from here, I don't know. Not in control.
You think it was the right choice for there to be a conservatorship for her?
At the time, yes.
Right. And your dad, are you and your dad close?
Yeah.
And your dad was a big part of that at the beginning, and he remains a very active part of the conservatorship, from what I've seen and read. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And
yes. I'm not for sure exactly how that what his role is, but yeah, he's very active in it.
How is that perceived in the family, among the other family members? Is it, hey, Dad, thanks for doing this and looking out for our sister. It's great that you're putting the time into that, or is there some disagreement over that?
I mean, with any family, there's disagreement on certain things, and everything. But in general, I think, he's done the best he could given the situation he was put in. And
the situation he was put in. How about the situation that you created since you were the manager and you were running the security teams and blah, blah, blah? How about that situation?
We've had to work together as a family to kind of keep it all going. I mean, as you know, with any family, one person might be on stage and doing this, but it's a sacrifice from everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone's putting in to some degree a little bit to kind of keep everything going.
To keep Britney's money train going, you mean, at the expense of her health? Oh, it's so much work to make Britney do this job that she's got to do to pay for our lifestyles.
So today in California, might be happening even right now as we speak. I don't know. I'm sure there's millions of people around the world on Britney Watch to see what happens. There's a court hearing about the conservatorship to see, does it continue after August 22nd is the date it is set to expire right now, or does it end, which I believe that's what your sister wants, right? Is for the conservatorship to end? That's what this is about?
I'm assuming that I can't speak for that, to be honest with you, because I don't know where the legal status is or what.
You weren't asked about the legal status, you were asked how Britney feels. She didn't just wake up overnight and suddenly decide she doesn't want to be in the conservatorship anymore.
What the real truth is, because there's so much false press out there, and that it's. I would assume anybody would want to get out of the situation, who wouldn't? So.
Right. So you must have said, are you hoping this wraps up? What do you want? Right, you had to have asked her about it.
I mean, she's always wanted to get out of it.
See, now he admits that she's always wanted to get out of it.
It's very frustrating to have, whether it's someone's coming in peace to help or they're coming in with an attitude, having someone constantly tell you to do something, it's got to be frustrating. So yeah, she's wanted to get out of it for quite some time. What level of that is the reality? Who knows? It's
What are you saying, Brian? That she still doesn't have a grip on reality? She slaved her ass off all this time on the stage, designed her own costumes, acts, wrote her own music, and you still think she doesn't have a grip on reality?
When you say that, meaning you're not sure if she means what she says?
Well, think about it. She's been surrounded by people and a team of people since she was 15. So at what level does everyone just walk away, or at what level does that get reduced?
Right, but I'm gathering that what you're saying is that maybe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that maybe you ask her certain things, she answers, and you're not sure that if she's answering, she's either being 100% truthful, or if she knows what she's saying. I'm just not clear.
Or just I know what she wants, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, what is the reality of that?
What would that be in practicality?
Yeah, the practicality of that. Oh, so are you going to call and make reservations for yourself today? Are you going to
Right.
Dude, I think it's you that doesn't live in reality. Because in reality, all the pop stars have a team of people around them that does those things. That's not what she's talking about. Denial is a river in Egypt.
Well, I guess, she can get an assistant, although it's been very hard for me. Nobody wants to be my assistant. It lasts 2 weeks every time.
I know how you feel.
Yeah, I can understand the reservation part and helping with basic tasks. You can get an assistant. We work with a lot of celebrities in our line of work when we're not having fun chatting with interesting people like you. And, it's not uncommon for celebrities or athletes we work with to have 2, 3, 4 assistants.
Yeah.
But that's different, having assistants, than all of a sudden if the conservatorship, all of a sudden, she wakes up and it's August 23rd and it has been ended. I'm not even going to say the word because I'll mess it up again. And aside from having to do certain things for herself, it's you go to the ATM machine and, what is it, 200, 300 million or whatever. I don't know how much money she has. Do you know how much money she even has? Does she know?
I have no clue.
Does anyone know?
I don't know. It's a good question, actually.
Someone must know. And it's for the last X amount of years, how long has she been in this conservatorship?
2007 maybe, or 6?
Oops, he just let the cat out of the bag. He was there for the entire period leading up to the conservatorship and for a year afterwards.
I don't even know. It's been a long time. I mean, we've done many shows since we've been in it. So
over a decade, she's doing shows in front of sold out people. She's flying private. She's doing all these crazy, amazing pop star, megastar things. And then if she wants to go shopping, she's got to ask someone on the court's behalf for some money to go shopping and do something. And then the conservatorship ends, and maybe she goes to the ATM, takes out $100 or so, and a little receipt kicks out its balance and is like $700,246,000. Yeah, I was like, how do you manage that? Is that one of the concerns?
I think in general, it's like just as a personal development, like, you know, I don't know this, you know, but like if you're coming into life and you've never had to do something and having to learn it, obviously it's a lot better to learn it when you have a lot of money and you can learn it. But like, I'm sure it's going to be an adjustment. You know, let's say it does get let go and she's calling her own, like, you know, everyday task stuff. I think it's probably going to be, I mean, it's a great challenge, but it's probably going to be quite, I mean, like driving. She's the worst driver in the world. I'm not lying. Like bless her heart. Like she really.
Well, how would you know? You stopped her from driving when she was 18, and let's face it, not many 18-year-olds are good drivers, male or female. But how would anybody know how well she can drive now at nearly 40?
Is not a really good driver, and she hasn't had to do that. So
there you go. Brian is his father's son. They think she is still the same 18-year-old that they put into the conservatorship over a decade ago, and they're more worried about what she's going to do with her money. And let's face it, if she wants to spend it all tomorrow on a private island, she's entitled to do that. You know, when Johnny Depp came out and said, you know, I've had a problem with drugs and alcohol, no court stepped in and put him under a conservatorship. And he's done a lot of crazy things with his money. He even bought a private island. And he's certainly no stranger to bad management who took $600 million out of his accounts. It's his right as an adult, just as it's Britney's right as an adult to do whatever the hell they want with their money.
It's Britney, bitch.